Hey, I need to get a.
I'm back.
I'm gonna get a drink, but it's right there, so I'll be uno momento.
I'm
I gotta
blocking.
change my background here. Yeah.
I'm eating pizza, so don't mind me.
Primarily critical.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Primarily Critical of Movies at After Party. This will be it.
If you have not seen this movie,
Oh
we suggest that you do so before listening any further.
Because we got spoilers, trivia, and cats and opinions like crazy, and we cannot wait to share them.
Good, bad, weird, or gross.
We will pass judgment on them all.
no! Today, chemicals on paper or digital dust. Pick your poison. My name is Steve. I'm here with
Phil.
And John.
Today we're covering Kodachrome. This was John's pick.
Yes.
I'll pass it off to you, my friend.
Okay, so this, like I say, my wife is a huge Ed Harris fan, and I like him as well. And so we watched a trailer for this. It looked good, and so that was enough. That was enough to pick this movie. So,
Why are you big Ed Harris fans?
well, I'll speak for my wife because she's the bigger fan. She says she feels like he is the forgotten about major actor. She feels that he's of the caliber of Hollywood greats that people just overlook, you know. So
He was he did a big role in what was it?
The
Westworld?
Abyss.
The Abyss.
Abyss is I think I was introduced to him by The Abyss.
Yeah, Needful Things, The Hours. These are The Hours. He was amazing and did an amazing job.
He's been in a lot of things, and sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's a bad guy, right? I think he's done. I think, but he's
very
always
diverse.
Like, he's always pretty like real, tangible kind of acting. Like I believe him. Like he's lived it. He's very good. I think he's exceptional in this movie.
Yeah.
Like some of his best work probably. And I've read reviews and a lot of people agree. It was just I wrote down Ed Harris is amazing as a smart asshole trying to connect with his son. Like he's just
Yeah.
Was this movie not reminiscent of Falling?
Absolutely. I was going to bring out that point, John.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the difference is Falling took it too far. Not much redemption at all, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this Kodachrome, what are your thoughts?
For me, it felt a lot like As Good as It Gets. Remember As Good as It Gets?
Yeah, Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton.
Yeah, and what's that dude's name? But when they're taking a road trip, two guys and one girl, and man, I don't know.
Jack Nicholson?
It's reminiscent of a lot of different movies.
It does. It did remind me of different movies.
But I mean, it's a unique take.
Did you guys like the movie? Is that a yes?
Yes, that's a I'm putting my hand up because it's a yes.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, guys. I saw this movie probably just after it came out on Netflix, and I tried to review it. I was time crunch. I didn't have enough time, and as I recall, I did like the movie. Let's go with that. I mean, I tried.
Okay, because I had a much higher hopes for this movie. I thought the acting from Ed Harris was amazing. Like no question about it. And I actually had no gripes with any of the acting.
Explain. Yeah.
To me, I had higher hopes. I felt this movie was a little too flat and a little too monotone. It didn't hit any climactic moments that, like, let's take Falling as we brought up. We talked about this when we were reviewing Falling. That payoff of when he finally confronted his father. And
Yeah.
big, powerful, emotional scene that as a viewer, you wanted that. That was like a payoff to the viewers. Like, yeah, you tell them, you know what I mean? And so this movie, I didn't feel like you have options to do a road trip movie like this. Let's bring in Bomber. I don't know if you guys remember that movie where that was a road trip with the parents, where they're going back to see the a historic scene where World War II scene.
English.
Monument.
Yeah, I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow, that's a deep cut. Yeah.
That movie went the comedic route. And so, which was funny. I enjoyed that movie. Funny. And so I feel like when you're doing a road trip movie like this, you have a choice. Are you going to go with the comedic route, or are you going to go the serious route, the emotional route? They chose to go the emotional route. There wasn't a lot of laughs in this movie. It was maybe a couple chuckles at best, but they really kind of kept it to the serious tone. So if you're going to go that route, you're going to go the serious tone, then you need to have those big emotional moments, those moments that tear your heart out of your chest, right? Yeah. Just like we had in Falling and stuff. But they really didn't do that here. I didn't really feel that happened here. So I feel like it was kind of like, what I saw was a bunch of great acting, and decent filming. So, but without a story that really grabbed you. It was,
the script was weak.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think so. I think
we didn't get to watch him die though.
Yeah, but that was an opportunity where he could have been he could have broken down. Like, that could have been the moment where all of the unresolved issues while he's dying, like he could have had that moment where, like, you can't die, like, he could have poured his emotion out in that moment, but that wasn't there. I mean, it just really didn't. He died, and it was kind of like he died,
Yeah, it was what's the good word for it? Muted, maybe. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted more. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do you guys hope and think?
Well, okay. So Ed Harris's character. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your toes, Phil.
Oh, go ahead.
Ed Harris's character, who plays Ben, has a moment where he says that great artists, really great artists, are trying to fill a hole in their soul, and that they're inherently miserable.
Yes.
So he was saying that he has to be miserable in order to be great. And I wanted your take on it. I mean, did you guys think do you think that's true? Do you think the great ones are miserable?
No, it's just, that was the scene in the car, right? They're driving. This is a road movie, and they're trying. The whole premise of this movie, which is whatever, is Kodachrome, is a film that is the process of developing is going to be obsolete. So they go on this long journey to take these rolls of film, right? And I didn't really. I forget. I watched it a while ago, so it's like, does it pay off as far as like the emotional value of redeeming this main character? No, I don't think John thought so.
No, I didn't think so. I'm going to go back to your point, though. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I think he was redeemed.
Well, do you? I mean, isn't that a little convenient for him? I mean, really.
Well, yeah, it was a very easy movie. It wasn't a wild ride. The main Ben, he's like, yeah, he said I love you. In the end, before he died, he said I loved you, and this was a moment that I'll cherish forever. Is when you were a baby and I was feeding you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then at the end, he bequeathed a bunch of pictures of his mother and him
Yeah.
as in his youth, and so he's redeemed, right? Miraculously.
Could that not be construed as just lip service? I mean, he had decades and decades and decades to actually do something that could be uh, perceived as real redemption. Like, hey, he had lots of opportunity, obviously, for years to try to work things out, but he didn't. Now he's on death's door, and you can say a few lines. That's easy. That's easy, right? Is that really redemption? I don't know. I mean, maybe if it's truly from the bottom of his heart, then one could say yes, that he is redeeming himself. But it leaves that question mark. Like, he chose to remain a prick right until he knew he had like a months to live.
Yeah.
And then is this like a last ditch effort to like, okay, I now I have to do something, hope maybe to get into heaven, or I should probably say something the son I treated bad my entire life.
Yeah.
Is it redemption? I don't know. I mean,
Well,
to me, I can sit on both sides of that one.
It's very hard to root for characters that, for majority of the movie, are just assholes, like falling, and to more extents. But it's kind of it's exhausting. You want to root for things and you want to care about people, but you don't really care about them.
Yeah. To your point, just to go back, Steve, I never got to answer about you were asking if being a miserable bastard is a prerequisite for good art. Phil said no, and I generally agree with that. You don't have to be a miserable bastard to create good art, but I do think miserable bastards can have a look on life that perhaps the average person doesn't see, and from that standpoint of a miserable bastard, you can bring art alive that other people that aren't miserable bastards would never be able to. So I think there is artistic value in that. I'm just not sure that's a end all and must, an absolute must for good art. So that's what I wanted to say about that one. Yeah.
Do you think? Okay, let's use in context of music, death metal.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, let's. Music's perfect. Alanis Morissette. I mean, look what she did before she let off.
It comes from miserable experiences, like
right. Right. When she was doing with the producers, the pop music stuff, whatever. That was a dime a dozen. When she had her jagged little pill, that's because she was letting loose from her miserable, her anger, her frustration. Best album that Alanis Morissette ever put out, right? And we can say that about a lot of bands, right? I mean, that's.
I like to think it's a real great artist has a ebbs and flows or dynamics, good and miserable, a human experience. Yeah. But there aren't always those artists. They were known for being a depressive, dark individual, or they're the opposite. They're Christian, God-fearing thing.
I keep thinking of Robin Williams. From all accounts, he was a sweetheart of a guy, right? From anybody I've ever heard of that spoke of him, he was a sweetheart, but he was a deeply haunted man with problems,
Yeah, so mental health issues. And we all thought he was doing great, or I thought the same thing, right? I'm shocked.
Well, there is this underlying thing in the comedy community that comedians are actually very tortured souls. Good comedians often are actually really hurting, broken individuals, and they, so one could argue that there definitely is a premise of dysfunction. Broken people can create great art. I mean, there is an argument for that. I think there's a valid argument for that.
Absolutely. To get right back to what we started talking about.
Yeah. So back to the movie. I mean, it's related, but what we've been talking about. But let's back to the movie.
When at the very beginning, Buddy is Matt. He's fired. we okay. He has a he he's at a concert, and he goes into the dressing room and he meets the lead singer of the dress of the band. He's comes around and says, you know what, dude, we're going with a different label.
Yeah.
You're too slow or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's got this tattoo on his collar. It says "Carpe Noctem," and Carpe Noctem means seize the night. You know, Carpe Diem means seize the day. Carpe Noctem means seize the night. And I thought that was going to come around in the movie, but it never did. It never did. And we just met that one singer, that one scene, and that was it.
Yeah.
I just thought I would mention. I wrote it down, Carpe Noctem, but I didn't come around. It didn't turn into anything. Oh, well.
That's Latin.
Yeah.
Look at you going all Latin on our ass.
I know a few words. Spa is a Latin word.
Look at you.
So as per aqua.
It goes on and on. Latin, that crazy language. It just keeps going. Seize the day.
Should we get into the trivia, or you guys got more stuff? Or
I have more to say. I'm trying. It's evading
the
me.
floor
right
is yours, John.
No, that's the thing. I'm drawing blanks, and I'm like, what the? I had, literally a moment ago, I was thinking, I gotta say this.
Think about that. I'll stall for time here. Sure. I really enjoy Elizabeth Olsen. She's like the younger of the Olsen twins.
Yeah, about a couple years, 2 years younger.
I enjoy. She's in, of course, you know her as Wanda from WandaVision in the Marvel movies, the Scarlet Witch. She picks cool things. Yeah. She's fun.
She was awesome. I loved her, and I wish they had expanded on her story. Like, all we know about her is she blew up her marriage.
Yeah, she cheated on him. Came out eventually.
Yeah, and she used Ben to kind of make herself feel better through abuse. I got that. Like, she kind of took his abuse because she felt like she deserved to feel like a shitty person.
Right. Yeah.
Did you guys get that?
No, I got that. I mean, you got to think it takes a certain person to work with a miserable bastard, right? And that is abuse. I mean, if you're going to sign up to say, hey, I'm going to be the caregiver for someone that's going to say horrible things to me on a daily basis, and I'm going to go back for that day after day after day, you got to kind of feel like, you got to be that special person, or that person that's going to stand up to him. But she wasn't that person that was standing up to him. She was the person that just was taking it, and so, yeah, I think you're right. She did some things that she felt she needed to be punished for. So,
yeah,
looking for redemption through Ben, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into trivia. Maybe that'll spark some more conversation.
It'll spark some conversations. Please, we got lots of time. Feel free to interrupt.
Don't worry, it always does. Or maybe we'll go on a tangent, that takes us for a 5-minute journey on some
It could end up talking about nose hairs. Who knows?
Yeah.
The lab in question, meaning the photography lab.
Yes.
Dwayne's Photography is still in business. They just don't process Kodachrome anymore.
Kodachrome.
Yeah.
Do you guys like the idea that this was the premise of the movie, the reason for the road trip? It was kind of neat. It's like analog dying.
Well, yeah, and this actually hits me personally in many ways, because
do tell.
Well, okay, I didn't realize that you can't. It's this difficult to. I have rolls of Kodachrome still.
Really?
I'm like, oh my god, they'll never be developed, right?
What? Why? Does anyone know why?
Well, because it's a technology that's just not being used. I mean, it's just simply it's that simple, right? Now, most of my developing, and I still have rolls. I did all my. I had a dark room. I had the enlarger. I used to do all my own film developing and all that stuff.
Wow. I
And
didn't know that about you, John.
you didn't know that about me. No, that was pre-meeting
You.
you guys.
Look at you.
You know where all my photography equipment to? This is outside of the podcast. And anyone out there, sorry, you guys don't know him, but a friend of ours named Justin A. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to throw his name out to the podcast, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
I think so.
He got all my equipment. Because I hadn't used it for years, and I thought,
you didn't
time to
steal
get rid of it.
Did you?
Yeah, but I love this because I understand, the different types of film and how you learn, you fall in love with as a photographer, you will fall in love with particular film. This is my film, and you get better results from different film and all this stuff. And so, I went black and white ultimately. I was always, because that's the equipment I had for, and I used Ilford all the time. But I realized watching this movie, that's over. If I wanted to get back into a dark room now, if I wanted to rebuild my dark room, which I still could do, I probably wouldn't be able to. It probably literally.
It's not worth the trouble.
Yeah, there was Don's Photo Lab downtown. That's where I always had to take my stuff if I wanted to. But I mean, well, that's where I had to buy my supplies. So maybe you can still buy the supplies. You can, and you have a dark room, you can do it yourself. But I don't know.
I don't understand why the Kodachrome can't be processed anymore. It's like, it seems weak to me that someone on the planet Earth can do this or recreate it or do a special batch.
Well,
I don't understand. Anyways.
So Kodak came up with a very special process for their very special film. And apparently it's very hard to duplicate, and probably on purpose, so that Kodak would be the only one that sold this X, Y, and
Monopoly.
Z, right? Yeah.
So, okay, with that in mind, how many millions upon millions of photos that are out there that can't get developed? Is that what we're saying? It's like,
well, people weren't using them. People weren't developing them. They stopped developing Kodachrome because people weren't developing them, right? So I mean, it made perfect sense.
For
so they created their own event, right? They said, okay, this store is going to develop for another month or 2 months, and then that's it. And then everybody rushed there, and they got that business, and then it was done.
Yeah, you don't keep a lab open because once every 3 months a roll of film comes in.
Well, obviously,
that's not a reason to keep employees in a lab open,
But I think what I'm trying to say is, if we can land a man on the moon, we could probably redevelop some Kodachrome here and there.
Okay, if you got the bucks, you're Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. I mean, sure, you want some Kodachrome developed? Yeah, you could build a lab and you could get $1 million.
It'll take 10 years and $1 million, but hey, we'll do it.
Well, I'm sure all you have to do is talk to the right person.
Well, anyways,
slide a $20 bill. Get the right mix going on. Anyway, we should keep going with this trivia.
Sure. Go ahead, Phil.
Based on the New York Times article for Kodachrome fans, road ends at Photo Lab in Kansas. Originally published December 29th, 2010. That's the business, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess that's the whole movie was based on this article. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think so.
My understanding.
It's a screenplay based on
article. Well, it lit a spark with Jonathan Tropper.
With the Kodachrome, respect to Kodachrome. You guys familiar with the song by Paul Simon, Kodachrome?
I am not.
70s. He went solo, I guess, after.
I'm a little embarrassed that I'm not, because I'm a big Paul Simon fan. But
Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. He probably said,
"Well, yeah,
Garfunkel, sit this one out. I'm gonna go do my thing." And he wrote a song about Kodachrome, and it's about the film and about photography, I think.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering it right. It's a great little song. Anyways,
yeah.
As a side trivia, bonus trivia.
Interesting. Yeah,
nice.
Bonus trivia. Nice. Okay, the camera okay, the camera that Ed Harris used is a, oh boy, how do you say that? L-E-I-C.
Lycra.
Leica?
Lyca?
Leica? I don't know.
I believe in you.
I'm sure photographers will, like, oh my God, you idiot. But
comment on the site.
Leica M4P. A rangefinder camera built from 1980 to 1986. Cutting cost strategy. This is one of those several Leica models manufactured mostly in Midland, Canada, instead of the legendary Leica factory in Wetzlar, Germany.
All right.
Wow.
So is Midland Canada Manitoba?
That would be, yeah. It sounds like Winnipeg, doesn't it?
Maybe it's Don's photo. I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys, that's some deep ass trivia. That's some deep ass camera.
Yeah.
For your foot.
When I was going through the trivia, there wasn't a lot, but I thought, well, we should probably have some camera nerd moments,
Do you think, in the same way I personally dig music movies about real musician type movies, photographers lust after this movie because that camera? That's real, man.
Well,
that's my thing.
I am a bit of a photography nerd, and I'm not that much of it. But I did love watching all that analog stuff because I miss those days. I still have my Minolta, my 35 millimeter Minolta with the different lenses and all that stuff. Can't get rid of it because I just, I loved that stuff. I loved working with film, and exposure times and different speeds of film and all that stuff, it's just amazing stuff. Right from the time you take the image to the time you make the print, there's so many different variables that are involved to getting a really cool print, which is stuff that people just totally take for granted now with their phones and their digital. You can just do it in seconds, right?
That's the point. Yeah.
It was a fun time. And so from the standpoint of somebody that used to be very much into photography and loves photography, there's parts of it it was very reminiscent. I'm like, this is awesome. I love that. So I loved watching them wind that film in, the clicks. I remember doing exactly that stuff. I knew my camera exactly how you had to load film, I loved watching him saying like how the son knew it because he watched his dad do it so many times. That's the world of photography, man. That's how it is. Every camera is different. You learn it. It's a love affair. You fall, and so there was some purist photography stuff going on in that movie for sure.
Absolutely, awesome point, Steve. I got a point. Not a counterpoint. I'll add to that sentiment is that I appreciate my age and our age. We all can probably agree upon this. Where we appreciate going from the analog age to digital and watching it happen and analog die down where it's not the thing anymore.
It's become an art. Analog became an art where analog was once the technology.
Yeah.
Now it's become an art,
I talked about this with some other people. We appreciate the speed of computers versus what used to be, or we appreciate things that were so hard before with audio or film production. Now it's all digital, easier, the evolution of it, right? And it's a nostalgia thing. It's a nostalgia thing. It is. To this day, purists still like analog. They still like their audio that way. They like their photography on film. Yeah.
Well, and here to that point, here's the thing that I remember about photography is that once upon a time, you could buy a roll of 24 pictures, or you could get the bigger rolls. I always got, with Ilford, it was always in metric. It was like 10 or 20, whatever. But each shot costs money, and you have to think about it, right? It's not. We live in an age now where it makes photographers. If you call someone a photographer, it's really just tick, 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 click, 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 click. And then afterwards, the photographer, what they call a photographer today, goes through all 1,000 shitty shots and goes, they have an eye now. Oh, that's a photographer. They have an eye now to spot in those 1,000 shitty shots they took, the one good one they took, right? So it is a difference. Back in the day, a photographer was someone that had one chance to get it right because, and even like it wasn't click, click, click. If you blew that one chance, you still had to wind the film. You had to reload the flash or whatever and set up for the next shot. So if it's a moment that you want to capture, you really got to be on the ball back then. You really had to be on the ball. So this is why I think, you look at a guy like him, he's revered because that's a different era of where photographers were really something. Today, a photographer really isn't something. They're not, how does a photographer today stand out as spectacular? They have a good eye. That's how they stand out today. Good eye to look through thousands of pictures and pick the right one. Back then, they had to have a good eye on the fly, on the moment, in the real time. Much bigger skill set. To be able to spot it in a moment and capture that moment was huge, and so that doesn't exist anymore. Well, it doesn't need to exist anymore. It may exist.
I think you might get some blowback of some professional photographers out there, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I get exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
This last trivia point. Kodak produced many types of film over its history. Kodachrome was the first color transparency slide film, and it differed from Ektachrome color transparency.
Was the best film ever, in my opinion. Yeah.
And from the color negative films that were used to create color prints. Kodachrome had no color dyes in the film itself. Instead, these were added during the development process, making Kodachrome processing very different from all other films produced by any other manufacturer or by Kodak itself. So it just speaks to the different styles and the very different ways to develop things.
So John, Steve, to your point, John, about film, the Kodachrome, I never knew you're so passionate about photography.
Well, this goes back to my youth. I was huge into that, but the digital age came along and it just kiboshed it for me. I was like, once I realized that this is where the world's going, I was like, I'm done. I'm not.
So
it's all digital dust now.
Yeah.
My counterpoint with respect to digital is take it to the audio realm. I grew up passionately about recording with cassettes. A terrible format. Yeah. Terrible. I didn't have the money or know any different. And slowly I watched that shitty technology because I couldn't afford the studios with the high-end tape, like thick tape that you needed back in the day. You had to, you afforded what you could.
Big bucks, huge bucks.
Sure, right. It's a whole different thing. Now, with digital age, the playing field, it evens it. Anybody can do it now. You still have to be creative. You still need to be talented. But maybe it's a different thing with film. But for me, I have no problem ditching terrible technology to do something new. But
I sit that way too.
Better. It's just better.
Absolutely. Right? I'm glad the digital age is awesome. I love it.
But there's drawbacks. There's a loss.
There's definitely yes. There's nostalgia and stuff, and like I say, I mean,
but there's the loss of the creative art. I think you're alluding to the lost art things. So it's we want.
That's right. It's to your point. If you use music, it's a different thing when you actually have to hit drums and keep time with drums. Then you just press a button and get those drums. It's a whole different.
There's drawbacks to that too. People will argue that now you got artificial music. Yes. But there's creative ways to use artificial things to make art.
I'm glad it all came about. Yeah.
But different things. But photography, getting back to Kodachrome.
Yeah.
I mean, this in the retrospect, when you talk about it, I'm sure people that like photography probably dug this movie. That they just probably thought was a great nostalgia. The bee's knees.
They thought it was the cat's meow.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Is that Kodachrome, gentlemen?
I think that's Kodachrome.
We definitely stretched out and went off on some tangents, and we filmed this.
Good. That was a good tangent movie. I like it.
We can do it.
So that was Kodachrome. We are primarily critical. You are awesome for joining us, and check us out next week, Monday at noon. it'll be a surprise.
A surprise.
And
Ooh,
we
the
haven't
best guy.
decided yet what movie we're going to cover yet, but we're cooking up something special just for you.
We are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we are.
I can't wait.
I can't
All
wait
right,
either.
guys. Have a good night.